Welcome back to B2B Breakthrough. I'm your host, Ciara Cristo, and I've got a little bit of a different format for you today. Now, we're not doing any interviewing. We're looking back at what a year 2025 has been, and it's not over yet, so hang in there. We've faced a lot of challenges together. I'm looking at you, tariffs. But more importantly than that, we've learned from one another, whether that was on this podcast, in some of the videos that we've created together, on the stages at CoCreate, or even over coffee. So thank you for bringing those stories to the table. Thank you for sharing what's important to you so we can bring better services. But today we're going to talk about some of the heavy hitters and the stories that they shared on the stages at CoCreate between London and Las Vegas. We had folks joining us from Shark Tank, the Dragon's Den, the Marvel Universe, the Olympics, the World Cup. So I'm going to leave you in the hands of Kuo Jung, president of Alibaba.com, to talk a little bit about turbulence. Welcome to the B2B Breakthrough podcast. I'm your host, Ciara Cristo.
If I had to choose one word to describe this year's headlines about SMEs and global trade, it would be turbulence. But here's the truth the headlines don't show. You are already living with turbulence every single day. And that steady courage should be the real highlight. For entrepreneurs, turbulence is not just breaking news. It's not breaking news at all. It's a daily life. You ask yourself, am I connecting with my customers? Am I relying too much on one supplier? Am I falling behind in AI era? And beyond that, time zones, shipping delays, surprise costs, many of you still do everything all by yourself. Researching, listing, packing, and answering complaints. Yet, despite it all, SMEs never stop. You believe you can make it. This year, 25,000 entrepreneurs applied to CoCreate pitch just in 1 month. Different industries, different roles, but one truth. New thinking creates breakthroughs. You are not just surviving turbulence, you are rewriting the playbook. Yes, disruption affects everyone, but those with a competitive edge can still win. Every small improvement raises your chance to succeed.
Now, if Kuo set the mission, Lori drew the roadmap. It was standing room only when Lori Greiner took the stage at CoCreate in Las Vegas to share her origin story. She packed in a ton of gems in this session, so definitely go back to YouTube and watch the full session. But for now, who doesn't love a clear-cut formula for success? Here's Lori.
In brief, my journey was I came up with an idea, and I said I'm going to do it. And I set forth on figuring out every single thing from soup to nuts on how to get it made. I had no experience, and I just figured it out, and I think anybody can do that. Well, I think that when I first started with my product, every entrepreneur, and you all I know this, everyone thinks their idea is the best thing since sliced bread, right? We all do. It's in our natures. When I came up with my first product, I thought it was going to be a big hit, but there were many reasons that are concrete reasons as to why, and I think that you have to look for these things. So the first thing was there was nothing else out there like it on the market. I think it's very important that you try to be unique and different, that there's a void for it, that it solves a problem. Problem solvers are some of the best products out there because you need it. It's not a want. Does it appeal to a big, broad mass audience? The bigger your consumer, the broader, like if all women can use it or if all adults can use it, the better. And can it be made at an affordable price? These are the kinds of things that are so important because you might have a great idea, but if you can't manufacture it or you can't manufacture it affordably, and then I think it's really important too to do some market research. And today you don't have to hire a firm, you don't have to do anything. The internet, social media allows you to really do your own guerrilla market research and figure out, honestly, is it something that people really need and want? Or, don't ask family and friends. They're always going to tell you they love it. even if they don't. And so I think that those are the things that help you to know, and those were the qualities that were in my first product.
If Lori gave us the roadmap, then Daryl showed us his heart. He didn't just wait until everything was perfect. He just started. And that decision changed everything for him. Here's Daryl.
It was like a few years ago, y'all. I remember standing to my bank account, and it was a modest $10,000 in my savings. And I had a mountain of doubt. But that fear wasn't something that I could personally ignore. And you know, I know some of you guys feel that exact same doubt too here. But that's when I knew. I couldn't wait until I was ready. I had to start and then get ready. So personally for me, I leaned into my passion, which is men's grooming. Because honestly, I didn't see myself on the shelves. I would go down the aisles. They were packed with innovative, great products for women, but men typically feel like an afterthought. So personally for me, I wanted to change that. So I launched my very first company, which is King's Crowning. And I didn't want to just sell products, but I wanted to create a space where men could prioritize their well-being. And here's the truth. King's Crowning only scaled because of Alibaba.com. Every satellite product that we launched, it came through Alibaba.com. The suppliers, the packaging, the relationships. I spent months building community through DM conversations, comparing vendors, negotiating, late nights doing that. I sourced packaging through Alibaba.com. But most importantly, I trusted my gut when the risk felt extremely high. And that grind was actually my business school. And Alibaba.com was the classroom that made scaling possible for me. With King's Crowning, our first year we actually hit 6 figures. Now, I thought I was set, but business is actually never static at all. We had tons of competitors, they came in the market, prices dropped, and I got pretty complacent in my company, my business. And I learned in this key trying time that I was too attached to the solution, and I forgot my real mission. Fall in love with the problem and not the solution. And that mistake cost us market share. But I chose to fail forward. I was taught that failing forward isn't just a motto. It isn't a motto for me. It's the way that I've moved through business and in life. Crown Skin is a bold fusion of cologne-powered skincare created to redefine what men's wellness could be. And my team and I, we actually wanted to break the stigma. We wanted to make it normal for men to invest in their skin, their confidence, their well-being, and most importantly, pivoting saved my business. And once again, Alibaba.com was right there.
Next up, a fan favorite, a superhero, a storyteller, and a true believer in the power of entrepreneurship. He reminded us that ideas are easy, but it's execution that takes the real courage. Here's Simu.
Having come from where I came from and having gone to business school, I always felt like I had a business mind and an entrepreneurial mind, and it's helped me at a lot of points in this kind of creative career to be able to frame the industry in the way that someone with a business background would be able to. And I think it's really helped me make a lot of decisions and also just keep an important perspective. But at the same time, yeah, I think it's a muscle and it's an itch that continuously I found wanted to be scratched in a way. And while I didn't necessarily want to be in a cubicle every day working as a professional auditor, I thought, you know, it would be really, really awesome to be able to help build businesses with entrepreneurs that I really cared about and I really felt, you know, creatively, philosophically aligned with. And so, you know, being where I am now, having the privilege of having a platform, of having resources, and having the ability to spotlight people, businesses, whatever have you, you know, I kind of feel like, of course, there's some sense of responsibility of like, okay, the world has given you so much, Simu, like, how do you, in what manner and how do you see yourself giving back to the world? And, you know, a big part of that, I think, is helping to build things from the ground up. And that's why entrepreneurs love what they do, right? It's the idea of creating something from nothing, of building businesses, building ideas, and it's just something that I always really jived with, and so especially we talked a lot about my years of struggle. I know a lot of entrepreneurs are in the midst of that struggle, and if there was a way for me to help an entrepreneur, a founder, take even the first few steps forward, or to help create the math of the luck and opportunity and preparation, like just to help them come to that crossroads a little bit sooner. I feel like that's already a huge value add. And so, for example, a business like Mila, which is a soup dumpling company that I'm the chief content officer of, an investor, and also like a very, very proud customer of. It was a business that, nice, a couple of people ordering Mila in their fridge. That's really good. I was just really inspired by the founders, by their vision, and wanted to get involved very early on, and then found that we had a really fantastic working partnership, and just kind of were off to the races. So it's something that I continue to be really passionate about. It's why I'm here today, and I can't wait to, honestly, I can't wait to listen to some of these business pitches. Some of the investors that I speak to that I admire the most, they actually say invest in the founder, not necessarily the business. And obviously it's an adage, and it's kind of tongue in cheek, because of course you have to believe in the product to some degree. But I think what I've learned, seeing businesses rise and fall, many of them I've invested in personally, is that an idea will only get you so far. And oftentimes we see a business and we're like, oh, I had that idea once, and that's an easy thought to have, but just having the idea is maybe one step in a 2,000 step journey of the other 1,999 steps are all execution and strategy. And so the founder is what informs the execution and the strategy. Of course, an idea can be good, but if you don't believe that a founder has the wherewithal to execute, it takes a lot, right? It takes grit, obviously. I have to consider, is this the founder that's going to really honestly put in the hours and truly believe in their own product and their own business, and also in their own capabilities? And also, can they believe in themselves in a way that also leaves room for a certain level of humility? Is a founder able to adjust, able to identify critical feedback, to absorb it, and to actually implement change? It's a lot harder than I think people realize. Right. And not only do I see it in founders, entrepreneurs of like CPG, everyday business, I see it in the entertainment industry as well. It's very, very hard for us to pivot and to respond to what's happening in the marketplace in real time. And so just the ability to do that, the self-awareness, the humility, but also the underlying passion and the grit, and the combination of all those things that make a founder special. I know it's so easy to say, right? But those qualities in a founder are extremely rare.
She's a Dragon's Den favorite. She's the leader behind a crafting empire, and she didn't succeed by fitting in. She succeeded by proving every doubt wrong. And she showed us all that being underestimated isn't a disadvantage. It's a superpower. Here's Ciara.
The one thing I will say is being underestimated is definitely a superpower. I think people see it as a real negative thing. You go somewhere, and especially being a woman, being younger than other people in the room, being the person who sounds like this, which means the rest of the country assume you aren't as smart as they are. And actually going into any other room and people having those misconceptions makes the glory of proving them wrong all the better. And so I used to go into any room and I used to think, just because that's what you think of me doesn't define me and who I am and what I'm going to be, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And I think that drive to want to prove other people wrong is what set me off on that path. And resilience. And trust me, do not underestimate resilience. And I always say this as an entrepreneur, what defines a brilliant entrepreneur is they just have more resilience than the people who couldn't hack it. Okay? The fact that you are sitting here today, whether you're thinking about starting your own business, you're driving your own business forward, you are getting out there and doing it. How many other people will say to you, oh, I've got an idea for a product, or I've always wanted to run my own business, and it never goes any further? Because that's all they have is a dream. They haven't got the passion, the vision, the drive to actually get up and make that dream a reality. Whereas what you're doing is, you're taking the bull by the horns. You've got all the tools at your fingertips. You are taking it and you are owning your own destiny, and you are going out there and proving to everybody, don't underestimate me, because I'm going to take the world on and I'm going to win. And it's that passion and vision that's going to take you forward in life. So let me tell you, doing it 20 years ago was a hell of a lot harder than what you're doing today and doing it now. So I remember I'd invented this product, the enveloper, and we had the patent, we'd made a prototype out of MDF, and I wanted to go and get it tooled and made in plastic. Now, if I was doing that today now, and we actually do this, we have teams of people who use Alibaba.com for all of our supply and sourcing. So you can go on there, you can find suppliers, you can send samples, they can send samples, you can start and build a relationship. 20 years ago, I didn't have any of that. And I had no idea how to take that step forward and that leap. And I went to have it quoted to be made here in the UK. And I remember £30,000 is what it cost me to get started with that product. And I didn't have 30 grand. I was a student. This was my side hustle in my last year at uni. So in the absence of having that cash to get started, I actually had to make our first products out of MDF. I went back to the people who'd made the prototype, and they made them in MDF for me. The first 30,000 envelopers that we sold were made in MDF by the little joinery in our village. And my sister came home from school every night and blew the sawdust off them, put the little stickers on them, put them in a jiffy bag, and that's how we sold them. And was that the product that I wanted to be selling, that I wanted to be proud of? No, but it got me started. And then once I'd sold 30,000, I'd made a quid profit on each one. I used that money to reinvest in having it tooled in plastic. I then used the money and the profit I made from that to reinvest in the next product I'd invented, by which point I remember having to get on a plane and fly out to Hong Kong to go out and try and meet suppliers out on the ground. Whereas I look at my teams and, we'll come up with a new product that we want to develop now. We'll come up with the concepts for it. We literally go to your platform. We can see hundreds of suppliers right there in front of us. You can build dialogues. You can start and build relationships. And that, for so many small businesses, whereas I had enormous hurdles to jump over, you've got a pathway to success laid out in front of you. And I just think there's never, ever been a better time to be an entrepreneur and get started. The access to be able to build the difficult part of this in the supply chain. You guys do 95% of the work and open up this amazing career path to thousands, if not millions, of aspiring entrepreneurs that otherwise wouldn't be able to get there.
Now we're going to kick it over to two icons from two very different backgrounds. Both have stared down pressures that most of us will never face and have turned it into impact and incredible leadership. This part is for anyone who has ever considered giving up, which I think is most of us. Here's Rio Ferdinand and Eric Leshevek.
I think you've got to prepare for and be ready and expect downtimes, negativity, failures, because this is all what is part of the journey. I think that I don't know anyone who's been super successful from sport or from business who hasn't got failure stories. So failures don't mean the end of the world. It doesn't mean stop. It doesn't mean you have to pivot, but it does mean that you've got to build yourself back up, build the confidence back up to go again. But I really do believe, build yourself up to expect failures and problems, because that is normal and that will happen. That's a certainty.
How about you, Eric? Yeah, well, when you try to do something big, you always are near to the failure because you take a lot of risk. And the only way to win big is not to be afraid to fail and to lose everything. So I think that what helps you to take all the risk is the conviction that even if you fail, even if you lose everything, you will always have the possibility to rebuild. Because the real value that you have, the real richness, it's not money, it's your capacity to make money. And so if you have trust in yourself, then you will be able to go through all that.
Yeah, no, totally. So I feel like to your guys' point, right, I think failure also build resilience in a sense, or you require resilience, right, to really be able to face that. So really, let's also talk about resilience, but because you both leaders, right, in your own respective field, but leadership isn't built in comfort, right? It's built when things fall apart, when there's major challenges. And Rio, you kind of been through that at different level, right? I think probably it's near to your dear heart that, you know, from the losing the Premier League title on the finals, right, for 2012 in the last minutes, right? But coming back the very next season and winning it again, right? And then also you share very publicly about your personal loss, and then you really be able to open that up, right? About you know, the challenges that you went through. So those moments demand a very different kind of strength to go through that. So can you share a little bit, what did that teach you about kind of resilience and how to rebuild what things that seems impossible at that time, which I can imagine?
Yeah, they're two different types of resilience. Obviously, losing the Premier League on the last day with the last kick of the ball, that's the type of resilience, and where you go away and you think, right, we're going to rebuild and go again. And there's a determination, there's a consistency, a desire to come back. And the resilience when I lost my wife and my mum, very close in time, that's a different type of resilience. That's like drawing on the inner strength to kind of wake up every day, to get out of bed. You've got 3 children, 3 young kids, and getting up and showing them it's not about giving up, and there's a purpose to why I'm getting up, and you are the purpose. So it's drawing on the right things for you in them moments to keep you going, to keep the wheels moving, to then have a chance of succeeding again is important.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to your point, that kind of resilience, it just takes that special strength, right, to really be able to go through that bump, but at the same time, kind of build the, you know, the character of that person, right? Especially, I think that can relate to a lot of entrepreneurs that we have here, right? Because, you know, they face so many different types of challenges, but be able to navigate that, I think, just exactly to your point, kind of takes that different type of ways to look at resilience. Yeah. And Eric, I think your world is very different, right, from sports in a sense. But I can imagine the pressures. It's just it's just as real, right? You know, Ledger, as a co-founder, right? You've been through what you might call kind of industry storms at that time, major crypto downturns, and you know, some major, you know, what we call like incidents, right? That put huge pressure on your company's confidence, right? Users' confidence in your company. So how do you kind of manage that kind of, you know, incident, right, and be able to have that resilience to kind of go through that?
Well, you know, it's a lot of work, but also it's a lot of sacrifice, because when you need to navigate all these storms, you have teams, you have a lot of people, you have raised a lot of money, you have investors, and you are facing a lot of difficulties, and you need to show that, in a way, you are the captain, you are here, you are trying to do everything, even in facing the adversity. And so basically, you put all your energy onto that. So the resilience is here, but at the end, you have a price to pay. And I did a few years like that, years of sacrifice. And at one stage, I had to stop. I quit Ledger as a CEO, and I had to, well, the price was that my body, you know, was just out. I went to the hospital, I get a heart operation. So, yeah, in fact, everything has a price, and at some point you have to pay for it. So, yeah, resilience is also a way of sacrifice.
This year, you redefined what's possible. The only question is, how are you going to achieve your next big breakthrough in 2026? Well, we hope to see you at CoCreate. We hope to keep sharing your stories on the podcast. We hope to keep meeting you. So reach out. Tell us what you've been through. Tell us what you're looking for. I think we can help each other out. In the meantime, from all of us at Alibaba.com, I wish you and your loved ones a very happy and healthy holiday season. B2B Breakthrough is produced by Alibaba.com. To find out how Alibaba.com is empowering its customers with the tools, services, and resources they need to grow their business, visit Alibaba.com. And then make sure to search for B2B Breakthrough on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to follow us so you don't miss future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Alibaba.com, thanks for listening.